So what's going on with the PS4 Pro? That's the question I'm asking this morning. I don't know if you guys were watching, but I did a video the other day talking about HDCP errors, both with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One S, and looking at HDCP 2.2 and so on and so forth. And if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the description. But what I want to do today is move that on and talk about, well, the PS4 Pro specifically, and some of the issues that have occurred since its release. Now, some of the stories that we've heard are reasonable, and some of the stories we've heard are, frankly, fanboy crap. So what I'm going to try and do is separate the wheat from the chaff and work out what's going on and you know, where we can look at the PS4 Pro and criticize it, and where we can safely discard some of the stories that are coming out. And obviously the first thing I'm going to have to bring up here is something relating to the dreaded fanboys. And I don't know if you saw, but there was a story that came out on the internet, well, primarily on YouTube, talking about the PS4 Pro catching fire. And there were some images of the PS4 Pro with some melted plastic and so on. And I looked at this, and my first inclination was, well, this looks like either a mock-up or basically somebody's set light to the PS4 Pro for some strange reason. So I think, you know, we can safely discard that one because it looked fake. And frankly, if this had been happening on a grand scale, we'd have heard more about it. There'd be people coming out who were much more, I suppose, your fanboy PS4 players who would be coming out and having a great moan about it. I can't imagine very many people would have a melting console and would keep stum about it because you've bought your new shiny console, you're happy with it, and then it sets light to itself, and maybe, you know, some other things as well if it gets really bad. But we've not heard any of that. If you compare it to something like the, I don't know, the Samsung Galaxy tablet or whatever it was called, that came out, and that was really catching fire, and that was all over the news. And we haven't seen this all over the news, have we? So you can safely discard that one. That's a lot of bollocks, frankly. The next one was, well, for me, the build quality. And a few people have mentioned issues with the fact that the tray on the back of the PS4 Pro, and this would be the same for the Slim as well, was a little bit flimsy. And I've had personal experience of this. I've actually had the tray off, well, I've had the clip off a couple of times, the cover, and on the second time putting it back, it actually bent the lug, which is the smallest, most flimsy lug you have ever seen in your life. Ally to that, the fact that you've got buttons on the front that are tiny and basically look like specks of dust. And I don't think the PS4 is particularly well made from what I can see. The PS4 Pro, this is. So I would say that that one's a bit more reasonable, given the fact that people are having genuine problems there and they're being replicated. So it looks like the PS4 Pro probably has got some build issues there. The next one for me, moving on from that, is more of a technical issue, and that's something that I want to moan about relating to the hard drive size and the fact that you've got a 2.5-inch drive caddy on the back of the thing, which will only allow you up to, well, 2 terabyte hard drives. And frankly, I've already been using a 4 terabyte hard drive with my original PS4, and I wanted to put that in my PS4 Pro, and I've had to frig and faff about doing that, and there will be a video up explaining how I went about doing that. So that's a more of a technical issue, but that's a bugbear for me. The other thing that people have been having experiences with that aren't particularly positive are black screens. And I put this down to HDCP and handshake issues, and I think that hopefully Sony will sort that out. Difficult to say though, because HDCP is a bit of a bugbear for a lot of people, and I've done a video about that as well. And I think that this might be ongoing, and you know, HDCP's been causing us problems for some years now, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. The next one, and this was a one that was a bit of a shock to me, to be honest, was that some games seem to be running slower or worse on the PS4 Pro than they are on the original PS4 and the PS4 Slim. So, you know, what was going on there? Well, Digital Foundry looked into this, and I don't want to go into a lot of details here, but I think this is a bit of a storm in a teacup, really. Some of the fanboys, the Xbox fanboys that is, have picked up on this and run with it and made a big deal out of it. And frankly, I don't think it is a big deal. I think that if you look at some of the games, you've got The Last of Us, Skyrim, Watch Dogs 2, They apparently have frame rate dips. Now, from what I can gather reading Digital Foundry, looking at their videos, it looks like the frame rate dips are quite minor, 5 frames per second, something like that. And this is due to, if you're running the game on a 1080p television, you're still getting the 1080p output, obviously, that you would get off your standard PS4. But what's happening is the PS4 Pro is up in that resolution, and then it's having to downscale it back to 1080p. Even if you're using a 1080p screen, it's still using the higher res initially and downscaling it. So in effect, that's having a hit. The PS4 Pro is having to work harder than maybe it should be having to work in order to put out the 1080p signal. But, you know, I can see that as time goes on, you'll get a patch to solve this issue. I can't see this being an ongoing issue. And as I say, I think it's a bit of a storm in a teacup. And with the minor drops in frame rate that you're getting and the you know, some of the improvements in visuals that you're getting even at 1080p, I think it's something we can live with. So I think the fanboys need to go and get back under their rock on this one. But yeah, it does bring up some issues relating to the speed with which the PS4 Pro came out. You know, if you look at the build issues, you look at the black screen issues, you look at the fact that we're getting some frame rate drops with some games. And I know people are saying, oh, that's down to developers, but Sony are supposed to have put in certain rules about this. And we were being assured that things wouldn't run worse on the PS4 Pro. And, you know, they are. So I think there are some issues with the PS4 Pro. And I think that you have to sort of cut through the fanboy nonsense. On the one hand, you've got the Sony fanboys who are saying, oh, you know, you can't say this. I've had a couple of comments about my HDCP video where people are getting all butthurt about the fact that I've actually deigned to criticise Sony at all. Never mind the fact that I was also criticising Microsoft in the same video. But they don't like this. And on the other side, you've got the Xbox fanboys who are taking great pleasure in seeing these things happen. And like I said in one of my other videos, you know, why would you take pleasure in these things happening? Surely you want these things to work. Because, you know, if Sony can get away with putting stuff out that's substandard, then Microsoft will think, oh, well, we can do that as well. And we'll end up in a downward spiral. And we don't want to be in a downward spiral, do we? We want things to get better. So my conclusion from this is basically fanboys need to shut the fuck up, go back under their rocks and stop either damage controlling or, you know, making a mountain out of a molehill. Because on either side, you've got these, frankly, fuckwits who are talking bullshit. And the rest of us need to be a little bit wary of what's going on with the PS4 Pro and look at it level-headedly and decide for ourselves whether we're going to buy the thing, whether we're going to stick with it if we have already bought it, and take it from there. Personally, I haven't experienced, well, many of these issues, apart from, like I say, some of the build issues. And I'll be holding on to it because I think it still is a good console, and I think it'll only get better as time goes on. You know, the new games coming online will look better, whether you're running them at 1080p or 4K. And I think the sweet spot for the console is 1080p with the better visuals. But I do think it is a decent console. I do think Sony have fucked up a little bit with build quality and with HDCP, but hopefully these things will be sorted in the long term. And hopefully I can do another video later on talking about how the PS4 has come on and is now going great guns. But for the time being, can I recommend this console? Well, I'm not sure that I can, to be honest, given that you're not going to know whether you're going to be able to get the 4K out of it or even visuals at all out of it if you've got certain televisions and you don't know which televisions they're going to be. So I would say unless you're an early adopter like me, unless you have to have the latest greatest bit of kit, then you might be better off waiting for a little bit and seeing what transpires, perhaps after Christmas, and see what happens then. But yeah, I think Sony have fucked up a little bit here, but it's not a big deal, not really. And we all ought to stop shouting so loud and just start being a little bit more level-headed about these things. But anyway, that's my take on it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this, a thumbs down if you don't, and we'll have a chat as usual. And in the meantime, as ever, I'm going to go and get myself another cup of tea and a biscuit. And I will speak to you guys again soon. Bye.